My name is Ben Hillman. I am the director of production at Mostly Media. And I guess CJ's also unofficially given me the title of creative dictator, whatever that means.
How's it going? I'm Steve Cerasoli, and I'm a show producer here at Mostly Media.
The chef, because Steve just cooks.
I live in the kitchen.
Is anybody else sitting in a ProfitWell chair?
Got mine right here.
Mine's from an undisclosed location as well, but not ProfitWell.
Yeah, I don't want to admit any crime here, but hypothetically, my wife, who used to also work there, brought me there during COVID, and I may or may not have a monitor and a chair. You guys are doing something right over there, though, because I viewed the company in many respects being early to the game of having media in the front, a product and service in the back. Ben, what was it like creating that media to drive another product?
Patrick, who was the founder of ProfitWell, would write these strategy memos of like where he thought things were going and would kind of source information for people at the company and stuff like that. And the media company, that was like a famous memo inside of ProfitWell that I remember circulating. I remember referencing it a lot of different times. And so it was this bet. It was this like bet that we think like, oh, distribution is really hard. This is where we think that things are going. We know if we have these different shows, we know that we can hit people up via email, like up to 2 times a week. That's kind of how things ran at ProfitWell, was making these big bets and then mapping the decisions to those bets.
And Steve, you were creating all sorts of, I don't even know if you would call it like UGA content, but like it had this nitty gritty feel. And I remember when Ben was like, hey, we should also bring aboard this guy, Steve. I went down this rabbit hole of like you man on the street or at conferences, like in like this $4 suit, like interviewing people, like just doing funny shit, but it was for a business purpose. I feel like that was kind of cutting edge in a way.
Yeah, I feel like, that's the thing is like working in like B2B, I feel like, everyone's always kind of propping up like a sophisticated and sleek like look. And I feel like that's cool, but I feel like fun almost gets put on the back burner a little bit. Throw it back on the stove, heat it back up, heat the fun up. It adds a lot. And I feel like it sticks out a lot. It's good to blend the fun with the sleek and sophisticated.
Ben, what convinced you first to take the leap and work here? What drew you in the most? Other than that.
For those that don't know, ProfitWell was acquired by Paddle and basically went from a 70-person company to like a 300-person company. To no fault of anyone, just in that shuffle, I think that like what we were building at ProfitWell was sort of like the initial spirit of it was sort of lost a little bit, just because it's like, everyone's fighting over their own dog bowl and trying to get initiatives to be seen and stuff like that. And so I was in a little bit of a period of just like looking for that next opportunity, but had these golden handcuffs of like, had a really good job and like was able to kind of do whatever I wanted, but was just ready for the next opportunity. And I joked with my girlfriend that I was like, I'm so jealous you got recruited to like come to your company. I would love to have that happen one time. And lo and behold, CJ hits me up and he's like, hey, I've been trying to hire you for like the last year. This is me being explicit and not actually want you to come work with me.
I had to hit you over the fucking head with the banjo, Ben, in order to get you to join. I think like something we talked about though was I had always appreciated the work that you and Steve did at ProfitWell. It was very much in a service of something else though. And what we talked about was like, hey dude, you've been working on the appetizer to set people up. Come and work on the entree now.
That was one of the things that made me feel seen and made me convinced to come aboard, was just because, like we kind of worked ourselves into this hole of like, we're making these shows and these media properties and stuff like that, but it's all so that people would then go buy a product. At the end of the day, our job wasn't successful if we got like 1 million views on a video, because that didn't really translate to anything, and unless people actually own bought the product.
Steve, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a lot more rewarding to actually have the product be what we're working on rather than working on stuff that's auxiliary to another product and trying to tie it in. It felt like a lot of the times, we would struggle with being like, is this even related? The Fix That Funnel show that we were talking about where I'm wearing the big yellow suit and stuff. It's like, how is that necessarily tied into selling software? But yeah, it was like tying that all together was a lot harder than actually working on the product where we have like firsthand look at what we're working on.
Steve, to stay on you for a second, you're like deep in the guts of the episodes that we put out. How would you describe like working on Mostly Growth versus Run the Numbers? What's the difference between the two shows?
The most fun part about working on the shows, I think, is doing the teasers and for Run the Numbers. I know we did them for Mostly Growth for a little while too, but doing the teasers is a lot of fun because you kind of get to flex the creative muscles a little bit with the fun graphics.
You two are like the yin and the yang. You've worked together for such a long time. It's definitely a dynamic duo. How do you possibly split up like what you work on? Do you just like telepathically talk to each other? How does it work?
I've thought about this a lot, and Steve and I have talked about this before, that like we have different ways of approaching problems, I think, that really complement one another. I feel like I am very analytical and very like, what's the right thing to do this sort of blah, 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 which I feel like I kind of get eagle-eyed about it. And like, I get the like zoom out and the zoom in on the details sort of thing. However, that kind of means that I'm a little bit slower to like execute on the actual product itself, in which I think Steve is able to remove all the blinders and just like go forward with it. He's not reckless when he does this, but he's just able to like go and like get the thing done. I'd like to think that the guidance that I can offer sometimes is helpful to the end product as well.
Ben's really good at Notion. When I open Notion, it gives me a panic attack. It's scary. It's scary. It's a scary product. There's too many things going on. Organizing that all together, that task, Ben, when I like opened Notion up when I first joined, I was like, wow, Ben's been putting work in to Notion that I wouldn't even know where to begin doing that. So that's like where your kind of analytical brain really comes in handy. I'm more into just jumping right into something. Like, give me a task. I want to get it done as efficiently as possible. The actual like thinking about the why and like going into all of the like the distribution elements, things like that. I think that's more your cup of tea.
Notion is actually worth it. I'm not doing vapor work.
And if they want to sponsor this show, reach out to sales guy Matthew. Do I have a bad habit of not looking at the camera?
Yes.
When you're talking your money, you're literally like Walter Cronkite. When you're like actually speaking and interviewing, you're on the money. And then when someone's talking, sometimes you'll like go on your computer or something and turn away. We got the wide we got to cut to too.
Is there anything I say or like a crutch I rely upon that I'm not going to be able to unthink after you say it?
We were talking about that. It's like, I can't really think of, you literally call out like, let me try that again, which is like actually super useful because it's like, oh, well, I'll just delete that thing before. For anyone that's listening or watching, CJ's not playing Tetris on the side. Like usually he's looking at like data or something that is relevant.
I'm trying to come up with a joke with like a stat in it or something. Like I'm actually working hard at trying to be somewhat work funny.
And Breaking Bad is on the other tab.
I'll ask each of you this. Start with you, Ben. Where are we in 3 years?
It's a really good question. I'd like to say the moon, but I don't think we're going there yet. A lot of this is sort of learning and training where we launched Mostly Growth in the last, I think it's been over 6 months now. And that's been a huge lesson in audience building from the ground up. But I'd like to see, is this something that we can sort of scale out and figure out with other shows? Is there a recruiting podcast? Is there a sales guy, Matthew podcast? Like, are there these different verticals that we can use the sort of same formula that we're doing and approach those?
One comment on that. It is actually pretty hard to port audiences over from one medium to the other.
Still trying to figure out if we can do that, but we'll see.
What do you think, Steve?
Scaling is huge because right now we got the 2 shows running and we have like our CFO Explain series. We're throwing new ideas in there, figuring out the scalability of everything where we can have these shows running and also have more bandwidth to work on some new stuff, come up with some new ideas, maybe get a couple more shows in there. I think in 3 years, if we had like 5 or 6 shows running, I think that would be a success.
I'm pumped to build this with you guys, and I have fun every day jamming out with you. One more thing about SpendHound. Teams using SpendHound reduce software spend by up to 30%. Here's how that actually happens. First, you get the data. Real pricing benchmarks from over 1,000 companies across 10,000 SaaS and AI vendors. When a renewal comes up, you know what fair pricing is and what you should be pushing for. But knowing the number and getting the number are 2 different things. SpendHound also includes on-demand procurement specialists who help with negotiation strategy, contract review, and renewal emails. You stop overpaying for the tools you need. You cut redundant tools before they renew. And you negotiate from a position of strength now that you have both the market data and expert support behind you. SpendHound is built by the team behind Yipit Data. It's rated #1 on G2 in SaaS spend management. And did we mention it's free forever for SMB? When we say free, we actually mean it. You can keep all the savings. Plus, it's only $10,000 per year for enterprise with $150,000 in savings guaranteed. There's a reason we're growing more than 100% year over year. Do you want to stop overspending on SaaS? And go to spendhound.com/CJ. Zero risk, guaranteed savings. That's spendhound.com/CJ.